is that like back in caveman days, we had a 1-to-1 ratio of omega-3 to omega-6 fatty acids. And now the average person has 10 to 20 to 1 for the ratio of omega-6 to omega-3, vice versa. So that's what the problem is that people aren't getting in enough of their omega-3s, and just the bad seed oils are baked into some of that. But share with me.
It's interesting, right? There's a whole health paradigm designed to teach us and evoke what we need to do every day on a daily basis to keep our bodies not just healthy, but thriving, right? And so one of the topics that has come up is, obviously you're bringing it up, is the omega-3s, 6s, and 9s. Omegas have a lot of good publicity around them. And there's a lot of people that are interested to learn more about omegas and why they are good for us. And then there's a lot of concern now lately about whether omega-6s, specifically the seed oils of omega-6, is really not okay for us to ingest over a period of time. And I think a lot of people have good information because they're looking for a clarification here to create a better understanding of whether they should be on omega-3s and 9s or whether they should be on omega-3, 6s, and 9s. So in the past, it's always been omega-3, 6, and 9. Now there's some concern of whether the seed oils, whether the omega-6 seed oils specifically can cause us harm over a long period of time, or whether not just harm, but whether they can be utilized and digested. And so I think it's good to understand that in general, you probably do want to avoid omega-6. Omega-6 has good things. The seed oils specifically have very specific things. The oils themselves provide very specific needs for the body, especially for anti-inflammation.
Yeah. Does it matter how the omega-6s are processed?
So the key then would be the processing.
Okay.
Right? Because we know that omega-6s in general can be very, 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 very good for us. But the question then is, what happened? Why is it that some omega-6s now are in the spotlight and aren't considered to be healthy for us over a long period of time? And I think the clarification needs to be made is, just as you said, it's in the processing. The way the processing is done affects how the omega-6 is the ability of the omega-6 to be functional at the cellular level. And because we are looking always for ideas and things to help our bodies, not just nutritionally, but to help us preventatively, right? Not just curatively, but preventatively. And omega-6s specifically have a very preventative sort of characteristic about them. They're very solid when it comes to anti-inflammation. It's very solid information and data and supportive data around how omega-6s help in the brain and the brain function. Serotonin levels. Now we're even learning about GABA levels, and we're learning about dopamine and different things about how omega-6s are really interacting at the cellular level. And they do pass through the blood-brain barrier. But the real question then becomes is, what do we do to create omega-6s that are bioavailable? The seeds of the omega-6s are bioavailable, but they don't cause us any harm.
What does it mean for something to be bioavailable?
It basically means is how our cells are able to receive that. Can the mitochondria and the cytoplasm of a cell open and utilize that information, that frequency, that nutrient? How readily simplistic is it for it to be received by the body? How simple is it for it to be infused at the cellular level? And I think the answer can be 2 or 3 different things. Bioavailability is everything. When we have bioavailability, that means the body can utilize it.
Yeah.
If the body can utilize it, then the body can reap the benefit from it. If the body doesn't see it and can't utilize it, it can't reap the benefit.
So let's just say, what would be a product that, like types of products, right? I would think if you were to do something that was like liquid or some kind of subcutaneous injection, that would be more bioavailable versus a capsule. Is that true?
Great question. So we understand that things that are infused into our bloodstream through intravenous methods are the fastest, and they're in the bloodstream in like a second to a second and a half. We also understand that tablets are probably the least efficient means to get into the bloodstream. Things that are in tablets are loaded with excipients, flow agents, coatings, binders, etc. Those things, unfortunately, are very difficult for the body to break down, and because they're difficult for the body to break down, they're difficult to be absorbed and utilized. Remember, things need to pass through the gut, through the intestinal system, epithelium. The body needs to, it's a permeable lining inside the gut, so things need to have the ability to pass through that lining. If they can pass through that lining readily or easily, the more rapid that they can pass through it, the easier it is for the body to utilize it, means the more bioavailable it is to the cell. So as things become inhibited, or as the body or the intestinal system is toxic, or there's dysbiosis inside the intestinal system, all of these things play a factor in how something is bioavailable. So if we look at tablets, I would say they're the least bioavailable. If you look at a capsule, then capsules themselves are a little bit more bioavailable. Why? Because they don't contain excipients, flow agents, coatings, and binders. So that's really important that we understand that capsules are probably the next intermediary step. So when you look at a tablet, for example, they're being crushed under pressure. There's a lot of material that can go into a tablet. You could put 3 or 4 double-aught size capsules into one tablet. So tablets are very inexpensive to manufacture. So we want to keep in mind that the manufacturing process is a factor. It's much cheaper for companies to manufacture with tablets than it is for them to manufacture with capsules, or for that matter, liquids. So my number one choice in this case would be, for bioavailability reasons, would be liquids. Liquids have the ability to pass through the gut lining. The body has the ability to see and utilize liquids better than they do tablets or capsules. And not only that, they're kind of, in a sense, a pre-digested form. So the body can utilize them, and they're very bioavailable at the cellular level.
I was asking about the gut health because that was the first thing that happened when I got really sick, was that I caught a bacterial pathogen.
Okay.
That was like the last thing that was the lid that blew off, like created a disaster in my body, essentially.
Okay.
And so it took such a long time for my body to heal, and I would have been curious had I had a liquid carbon bonded technology to help like get the toxins out of my body. How have you seen it to be able to heal guts?
So tell me a little bit more about that. Like, was this mold related? What's?
There was a handful of things. The first thing was a bacterial pathogen. So it was C. diff that I got.
Okay.
And I had all the opposite like symptoms that people normally have. So it took months to figure out what was going on. And then that kind of was a cascading effect on a lot of other things in my health. And so after that, though, as my gut was healing, then I found out I also had black mold.
Oh, I see.
And so it was kind of back-to-back incidents with my health.
So liquids in general, as we were just talking about, they're so much more, in a sense, they're so much more bioavailable. The cells need to have access to the liquids easier than they would have access to a tablet or to a capsule. So liquids by themselves are certainly an improvement. And yes, they could have certainly possibly made a difference for you.
Yeah.
However, I think it's just as important to look at what form the liquid is in, because not all liquids are created equally. Liquids by themselves in general, as a general rule, yeah, it's fantastic. I mean, I think that they're, again, there's certain characteristics of the liquid that are good for sustaining enzymes, coenzymes, factors, and cofactors, things that the body can utilize very quickly, and things that are very bioavailable. So in general, I would choose the liquid. More specifically, there's a specific kind of technology on the liquid side that I feel is worth discussing, and that's something that any liquid that's bonded to carbon. So carbon is the key to life. Carbon is what we're made up of. We have carbon in our bodies. Our bodies are infiltrated with about 18% carbon. And the difference between us and say the table that's in front of us or the chair that we're sitting on is that those things are made up of carbonate. So carbonate things are inert. Things that are inert are things that we wouldn't want to ingest. So you wouldn't want to go outside and like go suck on a rock, right? That doesn't help us heal. But things that are alive, things that are loaded with the same materials or made up of the same materials that we're made up of are the things that we want to ingest. And when we ingest things that are made up of carbon, our bodies can utilize those things in a very different way than a liquid general or liquid tablet or liquid capsule. Anything like those things are still good. But when compared to, say, carbon bond technology, which is a newer technology, and this technology is designed to encapsulate carbon, and that technology then is designed to infuse through the epithelium and through the gut lining into the body in under 18 seconds. And what does that mean? That means that you now have the ability to utilize that substance and a material in a very unique way. You're made up of carbon, and it's looking for, in a sense, it's kind of looking for a perfect tissue match to you. Most nutrients aren't a good or a perfect tissue match. Most things that we purchase and we get from, say, Whole Foods, or we're ordering from Amazon, or whatever we're getting our nutrients from, generally they're synthetic. So there's something called synthetic chemical nutrients. These synthetic chemical nutrients are all the nutrients that are designed in a lab. Things that are designed in a lab are just that. They're made up of laboratory, they're made up of chemicals, they're made up of things that we're not made up of. We are made up of carbon, plants, our favorite animals, our pets, our dogs, our cats. They're all made up of carbon. So we, being made up of carbon, want things that are made up of carbon when we ingest food and supplementation. So a big, massive misnomer out there in the world today is that things that are made synthetically are the same as things that are made organically. And there's a huge misnomer. This misnomer is so massive now that it has caused such international world confusion for people. They think, well, can I have a synthetic chemical nutrient and have it work and do the same thing as a non-synthetic chemical nutrient? So they're two very different things. Things that are made up of carbon are things that are natural, things that are alive. You're breathing and respirating, and we're all just alive. Plants are alive. But when you ingest things that are not made up of carbon, they're synthetic, and things that are synthetic are very difficult to digest.
So the synthetic things, the things that are not great for us, the toxins that are entering our body, that's the carbonate.
That's the carbonate.
And the carbon, when there's liquid, carbon bonded liquid that enters into your body, it goes after the carbonate.
It's interesting. Wow, what a concept. Yes. So yes, you made a very solid point. Things that are basically inert. Most nutrients that we buy in the store are basically inert nutrients. When we go bite into a banana, we're getting something that was once alive and potentially still has remnants of carbon in there, so it's still alive. So the body sees it very differently. When we ingest things that are not made of carbon, which is 99% of all the nutritional dietary supplements on the planet are not made of carbon, they're made of something else. They're made of the carbonate. They're made of things that are oxides. They're acetates, things that are chemically oriented. And anything that's chemically oriented, unfortunately, your body really doesn't know what to do with. So back to what you were saying about carbon and carbon bond, is that carbon bonding is a new way of attaching basically what you're made up of, what your body is made up of, at the nutrient level, so that the end game is two things. And just as you brought up a second ago, the first thing is your body will see that as an identical tissue match. And because it sees it as an identical tissue match, it thinks of it more like food. And because it thinks of it more like food and it's an identical tissue match, it's very, very likely that the body will utilize it at a very high level. So now the mitochondria and the cytoplasm of a cell are readily accepting and open and happy to receive the same things that it's made up of. So we are made up of carbon. We're 18% carbon. Unfortunately, we're exposed to, in our daily lives, things that are made up of carbonate, toxins, things like pollutants.
So I run a full toxins panel on a lot of my clients, right? We're looking for mycotoxins, we're looking for environmental toxins, which so many things, heavy metals.
Right.
So how could a carbon bonded technology help eliminate that when I have someone that comes in with a really heavy
Interesting question.
load?
So CBT does two things simultaneously. CBT has the ability to infuse over 400 different nutrients into the bloodstream and into our cells in under 18 seconds. That is a modern breakthrough.
Wow.
That is a modern
18 seconds?
in under 18 seconds.
That's so fast.
So when we think of water, for example, even water, sort of arguable, but water would take somewhere between 2 and 4 minutes to be systemically hydrolyzed, to be utilized throughout our bodies from head to toe, for our bodies to absorb and have the benefits of even hydrational benefits of water. Something like anything that's bonded to carbon is now going to enter the bloodstream in under 18 seconds. Why? Because the body sees it as a perfect tissue match. So it passes through the epithelium, it goes into the bloodstream, the body utilizes it, knocks on the door of a cell, and it's doing that magic thing. It's carrying over 400 organically bound nutrients into that cell. And that cell now has the chance to live and regenerate.
So would that be why people feel more energy then after carbon bonded, right? Because if there's more nutrients going into the cell, probably impacting the mitochondria. The mitochondria, from what I learned in biology class when I was in 5th grade, is the powerhouse of the cell.
Yes.
So that would be why
Yes.
people experience more energy.
It is. And not only that, just the second part that I think that is the most fascinating part. So whatever your body doesn't utilize, we would always be concerned about medically, where does it go? It was always a question for modern science, especially for things that are made up of synthetic chemical nutrients. Synthetic chemical nutrients are 99% of everything that's out there. Vitamin A, C, D, E, everything's made of synthetics. Everything is made of non-carbon based nutrients. So what happens is the body tries to utilize them and it can't. So what it does utilize, or it's a very large molecular size and weight, and when it sort of enters into the cell, or when the cell tries to utilize it, it can only take a small piece. The rest of it goes where? It goes into something outside the cell. It goes into spaces outside in tissues and things outside the cell, but it accumulates. The worst part of synthetic nutrients are that they accumulate. And when they accumulate, the body has no ability to get rid of them.
It's like the bathtub, right?
Yes,
Flow,
same thing.
fills up with water.
Yes, and it can't, unless you pull the plug, it's going to continue to fill and fill and fill. And unfortunately, we as humans don't have any natural plug removing capability. In other words, we don't have a natural mechanism of removing things like heavy metals or pesticides, herbicides, and chemicals that have been exposed to over a lifetime. So they accumulate.
So because it's really important that our detoxification pathways can open up in order to actually push the toxins out. So I'm just thinking through this, right? As the carbon comes into your body and it's a bioavailable match, that helps, I would think, open up those detoxification pathways, and that's what allows the toxins to get out.
It does, but it's interesting how. This is very good. This is a really good question. It's really actually spot on question. The mechanism and the how is the most important part. Why? Because when things accumulate over time, the body can't get rid of them. If they can't get rid of them, then we know that we are going to have some residual effect, whether it's some disease manifestation, some autoimmune problem, some
Oxidative stress,
some other you know, I want to use the C word here. There's tons of problems when we're exposed to chemicals over a long period of time. What's interesting is that carbon, which we're made up of, has a high affinity for things like carbonate. Things that are carbonate are toxic. Things that are toxic accumulate in our bodies. Things that accumulate in our bodies make us sick. So what does carbon do? It goes after those things that make us sick. So the carbon goes after the carbonate. The carbonate is what's making us sick. The carbon is attaching to the carbonate and therefore sort of neutralizing it, lack of a better way to say it, and allows the body the ability to release it. Whereas it's always accumulated and accumulated and accumulated. Now all of a sudden we have a mechanism or a means of removal for the first time. It's like pulling the plug on all of the toxins that have accumulated. So like I said, it does two things simultaneously. Carbon bond technology is a very unique technology. This unique technology carries and infuses hundreds of nutrients into the bloodstream and into the cell instantly, almost as fast as you can say the word.
18 seconds?
That's unheard of, considering water can't even be hydrolyzed in less than 2 to 4 minutes.
Yeah.
So infusions, like intravenous infusions, are a second and a half. The average bioavailable nutrient supplement on the market is 3 to 5 minutes.
Yeah.
We're in the bloodstream in under 18 seconds.
Wow.
CBT technology is in the bloodstream in under 18 seconds is a better way to say it. And I will say it's a two-part thing, right? Like the first thing that happens is it goes into the cell and the cell just all of a sudden has the ability to create energy. Why? Because this energy is a natural manifestation of carbon, which is the natural manifestation of what it's made up of.
Of a healthy cell.
Of a healthy cell.
What a concept.
What a concept. So now all of a sudden the body has this ability to receive nutrition at the level that it needs and has the ability then to utilize that nutrition at a level that it needs. And now all of a sudden the body can detoxify. Why? Because what doesn't get utilized by the cell, and what I mean by utilized is that the body needs to create energy like ATP, like adenosine triphosphate. And the body can't create energy in ATP with synthetics. It's fake. It's no different than me showing you my fake leather shoe. My fake leather shoe looks just as good as the real thing, but we both know that it's not the same thing.
Yeah.
Your foot knows it's not the same thing. It doesn't absorb sweat. It cracks, it breaks, you can't resole it. You have to throw it away in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Right? Like real leather contains carbon. Real carbon is a natural substance that allows the body to utilize nutrients in this case, or in the case of a leather, it allow it to be conditioned and reconditioned. And the carbon is the key. The carbon is what we're made up of. So because we would now be infusing nutrients bound to carbon, our cells can produce an enormous amount of energy. Now our adenosine triphosphate goes through the roof. Now we have not just energy to get through the day, we have extra energy. We have energy to go to that extra meeting. We have energy now to sustain and help our cells replicate healthy, but we also now have the ability to go after things that have unfortunately made us sick.
Yeah.
So what's left over and doesn't get utilized, can make us, unfortunately, it's going to make us sick. So this carbon has a natural ability to go after that stuff, and it carries that stuff out of the body. So it's two things happening simultaneously. It's infusing nutrients into the cell, and it's going after toxins that have accumulated in the cell over a long period of time.
We know we need that here in the United States.
Everybody needs that. It's the newest form of nutrition that I've ever heard in my life.
It can be so overwhelming. There's so many things out there. You need to try this, you need to do this, you need to do this in order to be healthy. What's the bottom line?
What's the bottom line? Okay, so we need 3 things to survive.
Okay.
3.
Only 3.
That's it. You need 3 things to survive.
Goodness.
You need 3 things, and a shortage of any one of those 3 things, the game is over for all of us.
Okay.
So the 3 things are 2 of them are obvious. You need 3 things to survive. Everything else is a luxury.
Okay.
Number 1, you need oxygen. All right? If we don't have oxygen, game over. We're not respirating, we die.
Okay.
Number 2, we've got to have water. If we don't have water, we can't hydrate. And yeah, you can go for a couple of days, I suppose. Some people have been known to go 2 or 3 days, even 4. but at some point that game, we're dehydrated, we can't, we die.
Yeah.
The third thing is the shocker. What do you think the third thing is that we need to survive? Not thrive, survive. Well, the answer is simple. It's called organic minerals. We absolutely, positively, 100% require them for our survival.
So what would constitute that?
Organic minerals, they come from our foods. They were designed to come from the things that we eat. They were designed to come from our natural food supply should contain adequate amounts of both macro minerals and trace minerals. And really and truly, it was Linus Pauling who made a very critical statement to the 72nd Congress, second session. He said, every ailment, every sickness, and every disease can be traced back to an organic trace mineral deficiency. That's how confident he was that you need three things to survive.
Where do we find those?
Well, it's a great question. Okay, well, they're supposed to come from our foods, but they don't. So they don't anymore. So back in the 30s, we had, farming practices that were inducive to creating foods that were loaded with organically bound minerals because the food supply themselves had the minerals in it. Today, unfortunately, the food supply does not contain organically bound minerals because why? The farming practices changed from bioagricultural to economic-based. When economic-based farming came into approach here in the 1930s, unfortunately, the food supply became depleted of critical organic complexes and nutrients and organic minerals. Those minerals, instead of being transferred into our food supply where we would eat them, we no longer get them. And because we need them to survive, and in fact, I'll make a statement. Linus Pauling said this way. He said, every ailment, every sickness, and every disease can be traced back to an organic trace mineral deficiency. What he meant is minerals that are bonded to carbon. That's the difference. We need to understand that. It's not just that we all need minerals, because there's lots of different kinds of minerals. We could just go outside and suck on a rock. I mean, for all I know. Point is this, we don't want to go outside and suck on a rock. That doesn't make sense, right? Because it's inert. A rock is inert. What we want to do is we want to get minerals that are attached to carbon. Carbon is what we're made up of. Carbon is how our bodies don't just survive, but they thrive. We were supposed to get those minerals in our food supply. The food supply, unfortunately, doesn't contain those minerals anymore. The minerals are no longer there because why? Farming practices changed. Farming practices went from bioagriculture, which was rotation of crop, to non-rotation of crop. And unfortunately, that created a huge problem in this country. In fact, all over the world. Here's a good one. There's this huge myth that, what does Evian put on their bottle?
Carbon neutral.
That's it.
What does that even mean?
Perfect. Ask the question.
Evian water bottles?
It's all over now. Evian's people are putting this whole
carbon neutral. What does, okay.
Yeah.
I'll ask what that even
It's like it's a myth buster. Yeah, we need a hook.
I've been seeing carbon neutral on a lot of water bottle labels recently. What does that even mean?
Great question. Carbon neutral, misnomer. It's we need to talk about the truth. Carbon is something that's good for us. Carbon is something we're made up of. Carbon is, we're 18% carbon or so. So we want to ingest things that contain carbon.
Yeah.
But when you drink water and it says carbon neutral, what are they referring to? It's unfortunate. What they really are meaning is carbon dioxide. They're talking about something very, very different. How did they get away with that? I have no idea. They took the word, there's a whole science connotation around carbon, and the study of carbon is the study of organic chemistry. So there's scientists all over the world that have studied organic chemistry. What are they studying? They are studying the carbon molecule, because carbon means and equals life. When you see something like carbon neutral on a water bottle, how could that happen?
Yeah.
How could the government, how could anybody allow that to happen? They took the word carbon and they shortened it. They really meant to say carbon dioxide. The bottle should say carbon dioxide neutral. That somehow this water bottle is not bad for you. It does not contain anything that would feed the environment with CO2. CO2 is accumulated in the environment over a long period of time, and we all know it. We've seen things from the greenhouse effect to global warming to toxins being trapped in our upper atmospheric layers. And unfortunately, those things over a period of time accumulate and they're toxic to us and they create pollution. It's like putting a lid or a cap on pollution and then going into a room and breathing in that pollution. There's no way for it to be released. So we suck up the carbon dioxide. As we suck up carbon dioxide, we're not meant to. It's very toxic to us. So what we want to do is we want to breathe in oxygen and we respirate out CO2. Plants, on the other hand, do the exact opposite. They breathe in CO2 and they release oxygen. We need each other to survive. The water bottle says carbon neutral. What there really should say is carbon dioxide neutral. Carbon, good. Carbon dioxide, bad.
Speaking of bad stuff, BPAs. Feel like I see that all over. It's a forever chemical. It's in pretty much every single kind of tin can or water bottle. How are they forever chemicals?
Well, unfortunately, they don't break down. They don't break down in our bodies either. So the more of these chemicals that we expose ourselves to, whether it's BPA or whether it's herbicides, pesticides, whether it's plastics, I mean, they're all doing the same thing. They're unfortunately going into our bodies and they have no way out. So what happens is they get trapped. When they get trapped, the body can't, unfortunately, function the way it's designed to. We end up getting sick. The more exposure we have to BPAs and things that are toxic to our body, the less likely or the less opportunity we have to get and stay healthy. That's why carbon is even more important for us. It's so critical. Carbon is so critical in our life, in our diets. Carbon is what we're made up of, and it's how we can utilize carbon, not just to create and bring nutrition into the cell, but we can utilize carbon as a means and a mechanism to release the toxins that have accumulated outside the cell. It's got two functions, and we don't want to ever forget that. Carbon is the most important thing that we have nutritionally.
So carbon could get rid of those BPAs.
Carbon is a factor, a huge factor in getting rid of BPAs.
I'm so data driven. I love actually doing testing because I can see, okay, this is where the starting place was, and this is where the ending place was 3 to 6 months later. Yes, you can have more energy and you can start to, I think a big thing is like inflammation just holds on to our body, right? Inflammation is
It's a huge
like,
problem.
it's a huge problem.
Yeah.
And half the time it's not that you have like a fat loss problem, which you might have that too, but there was 1 week this year where my body for 77 days was holding on to the weight. It wouldn't drop weight.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, because of all the work that I was putting in all year, 10 pounds just dropped off of me in a week, right?
Right.
So that just goes to show that like those kinds of things, they kind of compound. But I like to take it a step further and actually do testing to see what is going on in my body that my body specifically needs to be able to know that I'm making progress forward.
Well, I think laboratory analysis is absolutely critical. I mean, we as scientists, we need laboratory analysis. And there's enough simplistic ways these days to do laboratory analysis. People can even do hair samples now. And even though it sounds silly, your hair contains critical remnants of every place you've been and everything you've eaten and every exposure you've ever had, mold included. The hair follicle is an incredible reservoir for receiving information, and it holds that information indefinitely. So we can go into the hair follicle and we can get a hair sample and we can then just send it off for analysis. So what we want to do is we want to see, this is like a before and an after. We want to know, and one way there's several ways that we can do this. Number one is we can do hair analysis. Number two, we can do serum analysis, meaning blood analysis. Number three, we can even do something's really come a long way in the last few years, something called HRV. Have you guys heard of HRV?
Heart rate variability?
Yeah, heart rate variability.
Yeah, that was the first thing that I noticed when I got really sick. A month before anything else, my HRV dropped by 30 points.
So let's talk about HRV for a second, because I think it's something that more people need to understand, and they need to utilize it in their analysis of where they are.
Yeah.
HRV is a very widely and very medically accepted software system that allows both allopathic and naturopathic doctors to analyze it quickly where a patient is.
So what is HRV?
HRV is simplistic. You take 2 leads, one on, I think actually one on each arm, and the leads go into, and they're reading the EKG of the heart.
Yeah.
So back in the day, the EKG of the heart was really important because it does obviously a lot of things. We need to know and understand how healthy our hearts are.
Heart rate variability, right?
Yes.
So I have it on my wrist. You don't even need to do that anymore.
No, you don't.
But that's how you used to do it?
Yes.
Okay.
And still,
but how do you explain like what exactly does heart rate variability tell you? Like what is it telling my body?
it's enormously, from a medical perspective, it's enormous data. It's enormous data.
Okay.
Okay. HRV back in the day would certainly look at an EKG of our heart, and we would be able to determine, certainly medically, how healthy that heart is, and the heart muscle and the contractions of the heart. And if there's arrhythmias and other things that are going on, blood pressure related, and there's 100 things that are going on inside the heart. The number, but it grew. It became, today, it will actually look at even your chakra system. It'll look at energetics in the body. It'll look at neuroelectrical components of our body to see how well our bodies and our cells are speaking and replicating. So we can look at HRV as a tool, a deep faceted tool that helps us understand where a person is medically quickly in a very short period of time. And HRV takes between 5 and 6, maybe 7 minutes to do.
So from my understanding, I always understood heart rate variability to be how like balanced and ready your nervous system is to
It looks at your nervous system.
take on the day.
Okay, that's important. Let's talk about that. There's 2 kinds of, so you have an autonomic nervous system.
Yep.
It's broken down into two forms, sympathetic and parasympathetic.
Yep.
Your sympathetic nervous system is the nervous system that responds to stress. So if you're scared or you're working too hard and you're stressed out at your job, if you're not eating right, and if you're I know. If you're
Fight or flight.
Well, basically, if you're living in this country and you have a job and you're trying to do your job to the best of your ability, you're probably stressed out. And not only that, you're probably not eating just perfectly. And if you're not eating perfectly, your nervous system is stressed. And if your nervous system is stressed, you are literally an open window to disease.
And I'll even go on to say if you're sitting in front of your computer
For long periods of time.
eating your food,
Right.
your body cannot digest because it's not in the rest or digest state. It's
Right.
in the fight or flight state.
And when you're in fight or flight, what happens? Your body is what? It's reactive.
Cortisol.
It's massive amounts. So what happens is when you do an HRV test, the HRV test is really good at isolating different areas of the body and the nervous system, especially the heart, the autonomic nervous system, the sympathetic, the parasympathetic. The more in parasympathetic mode we are, the more relaxed we are, the less stress we have. The higher the ability of the body is to heal. We're in a state of, what's the word? We're looking at, our body is looking at optimal ways to thrive. When we're in a sympathetic state, our body is constantly responding to stress. When we're responding to stress, our bodies are less than optimal. They are utilizing nutrients rapidly. We are, unfortunately, reactive internally. Our bodies are not going to hold water, and we're not going to utilize it the same way. We're not going to be able to receive nutrition and utilize that same way. Think of it like this. When you're calm and it's easy to digest your food, right? When you're upset or you're sad or you're crying or you have a problem or you're really just overthinking something, you almost get indigestion. Your body can't even digest. Your nervous system is responding to the stress. So when we are constantly being exposed to stresses, not just stresses at our jobs, but stresses from the foods we're eating, stresses from the nutrients that we think are good for us that's actually not good for us, our bodies go into fight or flight mode. And the more fight or flight mode, the easier it is for an HRV software program to point it out. It's simple. The software is so solid and good, it will literally create a quick book report of where a person stands in 5 to 7 minutes. HRV is a solid methodology today for us to understand where our bodies are, where we've been. It'll even give us an estimated biological age of how old it thinks we are. We could be literally thinking that we're, feeling like we're, in our 20s, and the HRV software says, well, biologically, you're in your 60s.
Yeah, I found that to be so fascinating.
It's a fascinating piece of software.
Because it looks at your sleep consistency, what's the quality of it, what's your heart rate zone training? So
Absolutely.
1 to 2, 3 to 5,
Looking at electrical components, you even
all of it.
Ayurvedically, now we can look at Ayurvedically, Indian-based medicine, we can look there, we can look at Chinese medicine, we can look at chakra system, we can look at all these different aspects and pieces of knowledge and information and factual data that's like real time with the patient very, very rapidly. So HRV has become a very solid mechanism for being able to establish where a patient is. And then what you can do is you can take something like carbon bond technology or drink good food or sorry, eat good food or drink good water. You can do things that your body needs and then repeat the HRV. That's a very solid way to determine how fast something is responding in my body.
Yeah. Things that have helped me the most: bedtime consistency,
Yes.
evening sunshine and morning sunshine. So sunrise, sunset. Gluten-free diet for me is like massive.
Yes.
It impacts it greatly. Connection with the right people. So
Yes.
human connection, that's really crucial. And my HRV goes up the more that I'm training in my heart rate zones.
So I would agree. I think there's some critical things that we do and we need to do every day. Certainly exercise is a huge piece of what we have to do, not just to sustain ourselves, but to create an environment inside our bodies that allows our bodies to respond better to stress. And the more exercise we have, we know that the more resilient we sort of become. So it's really important for us to exercise. Our bodies learn and strengthen, and our heart muscles get stronger, and our neuromuscular system gets stronger. And the more we're in the gym, we can actually get physically stronger too. So we become physically stronger, we become mentally stronger. So there is a very important link between those. So I think she's hit on some really critical items like sleep-wake cycle is absolutely huge. We have to also look at what we are eating and how fast we are eating our food. A lot of times we're just such a rush. We just are stressed out. We are literally trying to eat within 5 minutes. Sometimes we have 10 minutes to eat our dinner, or we have 20 minutes to
When's
eat
the
our...
last time you actually like smelled your food and enjoyed it that way?
I can't think of the last time. But for me, I understand it. It's critically important. But I also understand that we're all on the move. So for me, what I do, I allow 45 minutes for my breakfast. I don't eat a lot of lunch, sometimes none. And then I allow an hour and a half for my dinner. And those are the two things in my life that I find to be absolutely critical to sustaining my body, for what I need.
And the right type of food.
It's absolutely critical. The quality of the food matters. People say, oh, the government has our back, everything's called grass, generally recognized as safe. Well, yeah, maybe, maybe not. Well, foods are really critical. So I simply, literally focus every single day on eating everything that I can that's organic. But organic has two connotations. People think of organic, they think of food that's free of chemicals, free of pesticides, free of herbicides, and it's absolutely the best food available because it's chemical free. That's one version of That's one version of organic. The next version of organic are foods that contain carbon. So the study of organic chemistry is the study of carbon. There we are, back to carbon. Go figure. Carbon is the key to life. Carbon is the key to our health. Carbon is the key to the foods we eat. Carbon is in everything that we should be ingesting.
Mm-hmm.
So the foods that we eat must contain carbon. The foods that I eat and ingest contain carbon. Natural fruits, natural vegetables. Obviously organic in the sense meaning chemical-free, pesticide-free. But I have to understand that I'm looking for foods that are whole, that are nutritionally whole foods.
Are there specific fruits and vegetables that have more carbon than others?
Absolutely.
Okay, what are they?
Legumes.
Top 3.
Legumes is number 1. Number 2 is things that are green and leafy, like spinach, like okra, like things like that. And then the third thing is certain fruits. One fruit that's absolutely incredibly loaded with carbon is nectarines. Nectarines, bananas are loaded with carbon. So anything that's naturally loaded with carbon are the things that we want to ingest into our diet and have every single day.
Yeah, I mean, we're not what we eat, we're what we eat eats. So the quality really does matter, right?
Yes.
Like if you go and you're like, oh, I'm gonna get a salmon. It has great omega-3 fatty acids, which is wonderful. It's really healthy for you. But if you're getting a farm-raised...
Oh, good. Then we can talk about omegas right there.
Yeah, if you're getting a farm-raised salmon, it's likely that that fish didn't eat things that are good for you to ingest.
Correct.
So then carbon 8, the toxins are going into our bodies. That's why you're hearing a lot, oh, fish is actually not good for you. No, fish is good for you, but if it's farm-raised fish from low-quality sources,
Yes.
then it's crap.
Right.
Plain and simple.
Right.
And so that's how it is with any kind of protein source. Like, I always base all my meals primarily around, okay, what protein am I going to eat? And I'm always going for live caught. I'm always going for grass-fed and finished. I like to do bison because they're always at the
Very
highest.
lean.
Yeah, very lean, at the highest quality, all of that. And that's what fuels my body, and it fuels my brain so much. It's so important. And then from there, it's, okay, what are the fruits and veggies that I'm going to add to my plate that will
So I think the key is that as we like to consume certain things, then we try to avoid the things that don't taste good to us, right? So we have a natural affinity to go after the things that we like sugars and things that are good because they taste good. And so we think that, with the more sugars we eat and things like that, the food that I'm putting into my body is going to be fueling me. Well, if you go down to the gas station and you put in 83 octane fuel into your gas tank, don't expect your car to run like the same if you went to the gas station and you put in 93. 93 octane fuel has the attributes of things that your motor needs so that it's not laced with synthetics, and there's just more octane available to drive your engine, right? So the less octane the fuel has, the less power the motor receives. There's a direct correlation.
So you're saying then that if we fuel our body better, we could probably perform better in our day-to-day life?
You will. I'm not saying probably, you will. The HRV will show it. So you don't have to believe me. You follow a diet that is enriched with organic foods. Yes, some of the things that you eat can taste good, but it's important to have a variety of food.
Absolutely.
If you sit and eat the same thing every single day at the exact same time, every single day, your body develops, unfortunately, a sensitivity to it. We know this now. So the foods that we eat need to be rotated. So it's really, really important that if you have a bison or a salmon, that tomorrow you have something else.
Yep.
You have some kind of protein. You have another kind of protein like a chicken, right? And so grilled chicken and things like that are loaded with proteins. But if you have grilled chicken every day, then you're not getting omegas 3, 6s, and 9s that you need from your food supply from like fish. People think, oh, well, omega-6, that's a problem. What do I do? I don't want omega-6s. It's not the omega-6. It's how the omega-6 is given to you. It's the form the omega-6 seeds are given to you. People are like, I don't want omega-6 seeds. I don't want omega-6s anymore. It's like the new craze. Because why? Well, omega-6s are like, for whatever reason, the body has a very difficult time digesting them and utilizing them. So what do? We have to take omega-6s and bond them to carbon. And all of a sudden, they're good for us again. So the body can utilize it again. There's always a way and a mechanism for us to utilize the things that we need. Seeds are not bad. Seeds, they provide fiber. There's things in seeds that are good for us.
How they're processed.
It's how they're processed. It's just how they're processed. So everybody says, well, don't have any omega-6s, any omega-6 seeds at all. I would say that makes no sense whatsoever.
The seeds themselves are fine.
The seeds themselves are fine.
When the oils are processed.
It's how they're processed.
And if you're thinking about it, most of the seed oils are in highly processed foods themselves. So no wonder.
Saturated fats, saturated oils, and things, that's how they're processed.
Yeah.
So the seeds themselves are not bad. But when the seeds themselves are bonded to carbon as opposed to bonded to oil, that's what makes them good again. So we want the seeds. So people say, well, you know what, I'll just go take a supplement. I'll get the supplement, and the supplement, I'll just avoid the processed oils or the oils from the seeds and how I'm buying the supplement. I would agree with that. Get a carbon-bound seed. There's oils out there that are carbon-bound. Find yourself a carbon bond technology seed from omega-6 and ingest it all day. And all of a sudden, your body knows exactly what to do with it, and it's not bound to a saturated fat. and it's the saturated fat, or for that matter, the polyunsaturated fat. Either way, the body doesn't know and understand what to do with things that are bound to fats like that. The body sees it as potentially a negative, and it's not. It's not.
Can we talk about autoimmunity for a moment? I'm like totally flipping the gears, but a lot of people that I've spoken with just say, "Oh yeah, I got diagnosed with this autoimmune condition. I need this medicine in order to help it." But it seems like it's just a Band-Aid fix. What do you say to that? What's the solution to actually get to the root?
Well, it's a good question. And what is autoimmunity? That's what the first question needs to be. Autoimmunity is where your body is attacking itself. So there's something that you've ingested or something that you've been exposed to, but there's something causing your body to attack itself. If your body's attacking itself, that means there's something in your body it's trying to get rid of. So what creates autoimmunity? Well, autoimmunity can be created genomically. We also know that. We're aware of that. But more importantly, there are things that we're ingesting into our bodies that we're finding create autoimmune conditions. Synthetic chemical nutrients are the number one reason. Synthetic chemical nutrients are nutrients that are formed in a lab. The lab synthesizes it. It's fake. It doesn't contain carbon. It contains carbonate. You've ingested it, and then what happens? 6 months to 2 years later, you wake up and you've got an autoimmune disease.
So synthetic
It's an
chemicals,
inflammatory process that's out of control.
would it be in our foods? Would it be in our products, our skincare? Like, what is it in? Everything for the most part?
Synthetic chemical nutrients?
Yes.
Oh, synthetic chemical nutrients are everywhere. They are part of every nutrient that I've ever seen. In fact, I can't think of a nutrient that's made today that doesn't contain synthetics. Synthetics are not just excipients, flow agents, coatings, and binders, but synthetics are things that are used to preserve our liquids, even like potassium sorbate and sodium benzoate. They're everywhere. They're used in liquids. Synthetics are things that help create flavor.
So how do we avoid them if they're everywhere? And this is what's causing autoimmunity. And autoimmunity is such a big problem, but it's just
Education. We do it through reading labels. Everybody just says, you know what, I'm just going to get it because he got it. I'm going to drink it because he's drinking it. The point of the matter is caffeine can only do so much for you, right? We're trying to survive on caffeine. That's what the world says. Wake up, have my caffeine, get through the day. But that's not how you get through your day. Caffeine's addictive. Yesterday you took 60 milligrams, today you need 65. Tomorrow you need 70, the next day you need 75. Then 2 years from now you need 90 or 100 to get through your day. That's not the answer. The root is that we want to avoid synthetics, things that are not good for us. But what we want to do is replace them with things that are carbon-based. Things that are carbon-based are the same things that we're made up of. Things that we're made up of, the body knows what to do with. We can utilize it. We can sustain itself. The body can create an enormous amount of energy from it. Think of a car. The car needs a spark plug in order to create combustion in the engine. Your body needs a neuroelectrical combustion in a sense. Your cells need to create energy. How do we do that? We do that through carbon, through minerals, through things that are good for us. The body can utilize minerals as a means of creating energy. The energy comes from the mineral. The mineral is the electrolyte. The electrolyte is the catalyst. So the body needs a catalyst. So these things are really, really important. They build on each other. We want to avoid the things like caffeine that are synthetic, or for that matter, acetates, oxides, and things like that in our nutritional supplements. And we want to get things that are containing carbon. Things that are containing carbon, the body can utilize, and you have natural energy.
It's very true. Yeah, so I started taking this carbon bonded technology 2 months ago, and it was pretty wild because I've been on quite the health journey over the past 2 years, just healing my body. And really this year, I feel like I've finally been able to get to the point of like optimizing my health because my body finally healed, and which I'm so grateful for. And I started taking intermittent Intermax, and 3 weeks into taking it, I literally had a parasite leave my body. And I had just done a gut Zoomer test within the past 6 months. So I had just seen that there were no parasites, no pathogens, which that's something that I did have a really nasty pathogen that literally wreaked havoc on my body. And so it was wild. I was like 3 weeks into this, and I called Josh and I said, hey, is it possible that a parasite left my body because of these liquid vitamins? And he said, well, yes, and then explained the whole carbon carbonate thing to me. And so it was just so fascinating. I've absolutely like loved them so far, and I think even more. My dad, I got him on them, and he was super nutrient deficient, or he had a huge lack of efficiency in his vitamins and nutrients, and his energy levels are through the roof. And I put up a story of him on my social media, and I never had so many people respond and say, whatever your dad's taking, I want it too.
It's good to hear. There's, unfortunately, we're all exposed to parasites. Unfortunately, if we live in this world, we eventually will die in this world. And everywhere in between, there's parasites. I mean, there's just parasites everywhere on everything that we eat, everything that we touch, there's parasites. The body has a natural ability to contain them. But what happens is when we're weakened and where our bodies are not immunologically as strong as they should be, they unfortunately will proliferate in our bodies. And as parasites proliferate in our bodies, they will suck the nutrients and the things that we normally would need and have. For the foods that we eat are providing nutrition. If we don't have enough nutrition, we feel deficient in our day, or we feel tired, and we don't feel strong. We feel energetically low. We can become depressed. Our skin doesn't look good. Our eye color doesn't look good. Our healthy glow is gone. Parasites, in a sense, literally suck the nutrition that we need, that we should be getting and receiving, and they suck it into their own bodies, and they keep it and they store it, as opposed to us having it. So it's a really nasty, nasty, gross problem, but it's a problem that is unfortunately all over the world.
Yeah.
So one of the things that we've noticed is that Intramax, Intramin, the combination of the two, are very powerful antiparasitics.
Yeah.
They have a very strong ability to create and go into the bloodstream and go into your body and into the cells where they belong. So it carries nutrition where it should be, instead of going into the parasite. So in a sense, the parasite starves.
Yep.
Because now all of a sudden, the body is receiving nutrition the way it should be, and the parasite isn't feeding anymore on the cell.
Yeah.
The body, it can't. Why? Because there's so much nutrition going throughout the body.
Yeah.
So the parasites starve.
Yeah.
The nutrition is going into the cell where it belongs. The parasite feeds off fatty tissue and other things in the body. So what happens is the parasite sort of, in a sense, doesn't get what it needs.
We starved it to death, and I'm so grateful.
You starve the parasites. Exactly right. And so your body just eventually, the parasites die, and your body gets rid of it, just like it would any other toxin. It sees it as a toxin, the carbon goes after it, and the body polymerizes and it gets rid of it.
Yeah, it was amazing. I was mind blown. I was like, because I just done a test too, right? And so, you know, sometimes those tests don't pick up on absolutely every single parasite or pathogen.
They don't.
And I was fascinated. I was like, wow, I already felt amazing. It's not like thankfully the parasite yet hadn't impacted my energy levels.
But not only that, not only is the parasite not there, but think of the other side. Now you are all of a sudden getting over 400 nutrients into the cell, and the parasite can't go get the nutrients out of the cell.
Yeah.
So instead of it going into the cell where you need the nutrition, the parasite was sucking it out and away from you. Now you're getting all the 400 organically bound nutrients in the cell, and you don't have the parasite.
Yes.
So you get the benefit of both. It's a
win-win-win. Yes.
Energetically amazing.